Hey everyone, welcome to The Huddle. It's Tuesday, and there's a bunch of conservatives this morning hailing a Supreme Court ruling we saw last night that basically let Trump's restrictions on mail-in voting proceed, at least for now. But this legal battle is just now getting started. It is still up in the air about whether these restrictions on mail-in voting are going to actually be taking place during this midterm. Go ahead, Sean.
Sorry, you just triggered. The restrictions when you're trying to make sure every vote is legal is not a restriction. You're only restricting people from illegally voting. Sorry, pet peeve.
Pet peeve. Sean, he has some thoughts on this. Curious do you actually think it's going to go into effect by the midterms? Or maybe you hold your answer until our segment on this.
Yeah, so we'll get there.
All right, last night's matchup between Jesse Waters and Abdul El Sayed certainly lived up to the hype. You will never guess what El Sayed asked Waters about his man parts on air, national television. We're going to play that and discuss the
I'm going to be intrigued. Like, I think the funny part about this, I'm guessing, Dan and I might have some agreement on some things on this.
Yeah. I could watch those two all night.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so entertaining. Well done, Jesse Waters, and well done, Abdul El Sayed.
Yeah, super fascinating. You could tell they like each other. Like in a I respect.
Yeah, game knows game.
Yes, game.
Yeah, game knows game.
Also today, Hakeem Jeffries is getting blowback from the left for meeting with Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. We talked about this on the show yesterday.
Not just from the left.
Hot take coming in on that one.
Yeah, it's pretty telling about where things are going to be if Democrats flip the House. I mean, how is he going to meet with anybody? Like on the Republican side,
it's way more than it's telling about where he stands in the caucus.
Yeah.
Let's.
We'll get to that as well. We're also going to hit on Shapiro in Pennsylvania. It's got some momentum, and Scott Bessent's D-Day bluster from yesterday. But first, let's look at the headlines or the daybook. I'm sorry. Primary day once again in South Carolina. We've got the runoff today between Darlene Graham and Ralph Norman. I think we've got some polling. Sean, you were
I'll show you that. Let me pop this Trafalgar poll that just came up. So Robert Cahaly from Trafalgar is probably, in my opinion, one of the more accurate pollsters. I've said before, the screens are super tough. Here's why this matters. So if you're right now, he has the race dead even. I mean, like literally dead even. Darlene Graham, 47.9. Ralph Norman at 47.8. If you are the in going into a runoff like this, the second place person generally is where people coalesce. Like if you couldn't have pulled it off the first time, she's not over 50. They've thrown everything out of. There's a story in Politico this morning that they've spent over $1 million from MAGA. I mean, almost $1 million on texts. I'll get out the vote. He's done the thing. Tim Scott was on Hannity last night saying, I'm behind her. President Trump's behind her. Like this is like they're trying to find. They've thrown the kitchen sink, the trash compactor, the faucets. They've thrown everything at this race. I will say I think Ralph Norman is going to come out ahead tonight.
Wow.
Whoa.
I was going to say, you mentioned the $1 million from MAGA Inc. on text messages. Other outside groups have put in more than $6 million behind her. So, and this is compared to Norman's, 700,000. So he's.
But here's the deal. Like I said, there's just a lot of people who think this is getting jammed down their throat. You got to remember, people are forgetting. Lindsey Graham barely squeaked by 50% in his primary. There's this sense that people are like, do it for Lindsey. They didn't do it for Lindsey when he was in his own primary.
That's a good point.
I think that people forget that this was not, and I say this respectfully because I'm not trying to dance on anybody's grave here, but Lindsey Graham had a problem with the right in South Carolina and the right in general. And so the idea that you can now pass that on to your sister who's unknown, had a massive gaffe on national security, for a million reasons, no one is sitting there saying, like, I'm going to go get out and vote for her, whereas Ralph Norman is a well-known, staunch conservative. And I will say that regardless of where this comes out, you're going to get a strong Trump vote. But I'm telling you, when we wake up tomorrow, I feel pretty good that it may be close, but Ralph Norman will be the
Sean, what does Trump do if that happens? If Ralph Norman wins tonight or tomorrow morning, what does Trump do?
There's going to be a story saying I think advised him to do this.
So
right?
First, Ralph Norman will come out and say, "I want to." I'm going to be, and then Trump will embrace that and say, Darlene had a short runway and da-da-da. I mean, like, which is all true. And Ralph Norman's already embraced, and I'm excited to have a Trump vote. I mean, he will.
Okay.
He will just run with it. Trump's fan. I mean, he's great at this. I know everyone in the media will try to read stuff into this. I know Ralph Norman is aligned with Nikki Haley, but he's also a very strong Trump supporter, and that's not. So
will Trump fume in private? Like, will he fume that he looks weak?
No, not that. But I feel like he'll get pissed at people who say that when they spent this money, they probably showed him, hey, we've got this, we're doing this, we're going to support her like this. And I think he's going to say, what happened? Like, why did you guys tell me that we were good?
I've been curious if this was all him or if somebody advised him to do this.
That's a great question.
This was all him, like, deciding to support
the issue
her?
is, like, the primary season is all but over. There's Massachusetts and I think one other
Rhode
state
Island.
coming. Yeah, and Rhode Island. But for a guy who's obsessed with image and optics, it's not a good thing going into Labor Day looking kind of weak. I mean, he just will, and he knows it. And so I would have to think it's going to drive him nuts. So what does he do to try to, move past it?
They put a story out saying so-and-so advised him to do this and blame that person.
So that's, I think, to Rachel's point.
Could be.
Yeah.
Did he get told? I mean, you think back to his first term when he got told in the Alabama primary to get behind different folks and he got screwed. I think the question is, did someone really say, hey, the best person is Darlene for this? Yeah. Did Governor McMaster? I mean, we haven't heard from Governor McMaster much. At least I do wonder, what was his role? Did he just get behind her, or did he come up with the idea? I think there's a lot of questions.
It certainly doesn't seem to have come from Senate Republicans, because remember, there was a number of them that sort of were like held out for a little bit and didn't say anything about this, almost seemed a little reluctant, and then they ended up getting on board. I don't know. I'm very curious to see. Maybe it did come from a Senate Republican.
Maybe it'll be a topic tomorrow.
Yes, totally.
It will be a topic tomorrow, I think, regardless.
Dave
and the Oklahoma governor's race, I know, again,
Yes.
It's not high on the radar screen, but I think that will get, does Mazie, I think that's his name, pull this thing out.
Mike Mazie, yes. That's right, another test of the Trump endorsement. All right, 12:30, the president has a policy meeting.
It's a light schedule today.
Pre-taped interview at 2, another policy meeting at 3, and signing time at 4 before we jump in.
Don't forget about signing time.
Yeah, I got to have the signing time. Before we jump in, though, Dan has a note about American Alternative Assets, our newest sponsor.
Yeah, look, I live in New York City, spend the summer in the Hamptons. It's the financial community, a lot of these people on Wall Street. Folks, don't forget about gold. Every morning here, we're always taking you inside the political headlines, try to get you ahead of tomorrow. But there is a financial story out of Washington that deserves far more attention. The U.S. government, as Sean said yesterday, I didn't even know this. It owns more than 8,000 metric tons of gold. That's unbelievable. But on the federal books, that gold is still valued at only $42.22 an ounce, far below its market value. I think Jesse and Abdul should have had it out on this one last night. This is a travesty that maybe they could have agreed on. The difference isn't just an accounting curiosity. It represents an enormous amount of value sitting on the government's balance sheet. Could Washington make another move involving America's gold reserves? And if it did, what could it mean for the dollar, inflation, financial markets, and your retirement? God, I feel like it's a cocktail party in New York. When people talk about this stuff, I'm like, where do I go to learn about it? Well, that is where you go to thehuddlegoldreport.com, thehuddlegoldreport.com. So it's everything that you need to know about this conversation. And I feel like, look, it's one thing to be ahead of the political headlines, but frankly, this is real money and what you're going to do with it and how your money is going to work for you. So go to thehuddlegoldreport.com.
Then go check out the CozyEarth.com sale. Guys, 30% using our code HUDDLE.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
on
listen,
your list.
If you kids are going back to school, if you're looking for an excuse, this doesn't happen much. I think the last time we had this was the holidays, guys. You cannot go wrong. The cool thing is, whether you're looking for yourself, your kids, your spouse, a gift for somebody, Cozy Earth has it all, from the eye masks to the candles to the towels to the polos. Nothing. I'm telling you, buy yourself some of the pajamas. Start with the joggers. Those are my recommendations. I've got like 3 of each. The first layer ones, it's getting a little cooler. I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to have to transition from the first layer pajama to the joggers, I think. And then the pajamas themselves, you might want to get now ahead of winter. But listen, I'm just telling you, stock up because this 30% does not last long. The sale has already begun. Started yesterday, goes to September 8th. Do not procrastinate. This is one of my biggest things. I will go back and look at browsers and they stay open and my cart's still full. And I forget to hit the click. And then I get this thing that says, sorry, that sale is over. So do it now. Just go to cozyart.com, use code HUDDLE, 30% off between now and September 8th. You cannot go wrong. Stock up. 30% does not come around a lot, Dan. Take advantage of that. This is when the Turrentines need to stock up.
You better believe it.
All right.
All right, let's jump in. Abdul Al-Saeed's interview with Jesse Waters last night, totally lit. As I said at the top, you could tell they're having fun. As Dan says, game recognizes game. And they were sparring quite a bit. It was a good time. Jesse basically grilled him on a host of socialist-adjacent policy issues and cultural issues, men and women's sports, the Green New Deal, the cost of Medicare for all. At one point, he asked him, do you know how much the yearly budget is? And he didn't seem to know, needled him on that, and the costs of all these policies. And each time, Abdul Al-Saeed did a very good job of pivoting back to affordability concerns over and over and over. I'm for the little guy, you're for the billionaire. We're going to play a couple sound bites from this interview. The first one is a clip about tax hikes for millionaires, which Saeed obviously supports. Jesse basically was asking Jesse, like, what are billionaires going to do with more money? Let's take a listen to this clip.
What are you going to do with more money? I mean, whatever I want.
I mean, Jesse, I don't know how much you make. Look,
not $1 billion.
I think I'd rather have. Well, yeah, look, so that's exactly it, right? The question ultimately is, do you want to drive on good roads, or would you rather have a billionaire make a second billion? That's what Mike Rogers wants. That's what Donald Trump wants. Apparently, that's what you want. I think the people in Michigan want something different. They want good roads and good schools.
So you're saying Beyonce, who just became a billionaire, she has to break you off something every year? She has to pay the politicians?
It's not me. It's the American public.
You're
Beyonce,
the one that wants the money.
To be able to contribute back to the public schools that she went to. I think she'd be happy to invest in good roads in her community. I think she'd be happy to pay a little bit more so that everybody had a little bit more.
You're reaching a little deep into the pockets,
to be defending billionaires from your channel, Jesse. That's a crazy thing. I thought you were for. I'm just saying. Look, at the end of the day, I thought you were for the everyday man. Like, if you're for billionaires more than you're for every other person, well, you and I are just going to disagree.
No, I just think I have the right to the fruits of my own labor. That's America. It's not communist, what you're talking about.
No, the problem with it, Jesse, is
you about socialized health care.
Billionaires don't make money. And let me just answer the question.
Sure.
No, let me go back to that.
Go ahead.
Billionaires don't make their money off of their labor. That, I think, is where you head off. Billionaires that make their money off their money. So if you have $1 billion, your billion makes another 100 million. That's not the fruits of your labor. That's just the fruits of your money making money. I think it's okay. Like, if we tax you at 7%, you're still going to make, what, a cool $30 million off your $1 billion? I think it's okay. They're going to be okay, Jesse.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of politicians.
They're okay. They're going to be okay.
All
right, Dan, why don't you start here? Because you were texting. You thought he just totally crushed this. But that was a perfect example of him taking a question about tax hikes, right? And saying, no, this is important for everyday Americans, and sort of making Jesse look like he was the one out of touch.
Yeah, I mean, look, first off, Jesse's my friend. I thought Jesse did a great job. Like, there's a reason he is one of the highest rated people on TV, if not the highest rated many months, because he also has a great demeanor and a way to kind of deliver a punch, with a smile, but he can also be serious. Yeah. But I thought I was super impressed with Al-Saeed. We can argue over whether we should or should not raise taxes, but his ability to stay relatively calm yet be passionate. We're going to talk about Hakeem Jeffries, who looks stilted. That is a man, Abdul Al-Saeed. The way he spoke sounded like a guy arguing in a bar, right? He kind of was using slang and he was cutting him off, but like he stayed calm. And he was so quick on his feet to respond. Every single time he got an opening, he pounced. And I thought that, Jesse did the same thing. And I thought a couple times they both recognized that the other got him, but they kept going. And so I thought, Sean, you and I said, was it a good idea? That clip, if I'm a, kind of MAGA person, I don't love Jesse defending billionaires. I get it, right? I personally would say, you shouldn't tax the bejesus out of people. But there were a couple moments where I thought, all right, you're speaking to some Trump voters in a pretty good way. Now, there are other instances where, it was crazy from a substantive standpoint, but he's a good political athlete. There's no doubt Abdul El-Sayed is
Sean,
like Trump's a good political athlete. So
I was going to say, Sean, yesterday, as Dan mentioned, you thought this was a bad idea because what voter is he going to reach on Fox News that's actually going to vote for him? Do you want to amend that, or do you still think that that's the case?
So I don't know. I don't think he won anyone. I don't think he harmed himself. I agree with Dan. Look, I watched it and I was amazed at how call it lying, pivoting, whatever you want.
Yeah.
He got out of every one of those holes. And if I was doing a media training session, and we'll bring up the Jeffries thing later, I'd say this guy got away with it. He pivoted every time to saying, what, you don't like sunshine? I love sunshine. America loves sunshine. It gets pretty every day. Rainbows and puppies are awesome. Why would you be against rain? I mean, he pivoted almost better than anybody I've seen before, and I'd have to think long and hard. Like, I would use that as an example of media training to say, no matter what the question is, you answer what you want, and watch how he did this.
And watch his demeanor doing it.
Right. He was very cool.
At the camera, very calm, with a smile, with some passion.
I will say there was. So this is why I wanted to lead with. There was a point in the interview where Al-Sayed said to him, you said that what you wanted to do in this interview is have a conversation where I got to talk. The conversation I'd really love to know about is what did they agree to get him on the show? Because I've done this before where you get a guest that maybe doesn't want to come on but will, and so you say, hey, look, I'll agree that I'll stay within these parameters. I'll let you'll always have an opportunity to talk and to follow up. And if you're Jesse Waters, you want to make sure that you show this so that in the future a Dem liberal will say, okay, I saw that. He let him talk and he let him do it every time. So you as a host, there is a bit of I've got to make sure I don't come across like a spider monkey coming after you, because you want to make sure in the future you can still get that hostile guest. So I would want to have known that, because I felt like there were times where I was like, Jesse, come on, follow up with him, pin him down on this. Like he is sliming away. And then Jesse would move to the next topic. I just felt like, dude, you've got to, he never got pinned down on a single thing.
Well, I was going to say
every time it was like, okay, well, what do you think about women?
I actually think he got him on the sex changes for minors thing, which is a sound I want to play next, because there were two moments where I cringed when I listened to El-Sayed. One was when he defended reparations for Black Americans, and the second one, which I think most Americans do not support. And then the other one was the sex changes for minors. He compared circumcision to sex changes for minors, and that was quite the moment. Let's play that clip.
I also thought he got him, by the way, on the Green New Deal, talking about combustible engines in Michigan. Because he was like, no, of course I don't want that. And Jesse's like, you support the Green. I thought you'll see that clip again.
Yeah, and the Green New Deal says that, right? Yep. So, okay, let's play this clip real quick of the circumcision one.
So,
Abdul, you're a doctor, right?
Selectively. I am.
So you think it's okay for a parent to slash his kid's thing-a-ling off? You think that's okay?
I mean, do you really want to have this conversation? Are you circumcised?
Yeah, but I mean, that's
Jesse,
a personal question.
Okay,
doctor.
So you probably should want to move on.
And circumcision's different than castration.
I think it's a problem. It's a problem that you think that you get to decide what happens between a parent, a doctor, and a patient. And I'm just saying that, yes, circumcision is surgery on a kid's ding-a-ling. So if you really want to bring this up, you can. I just think you guys are really selective about how you want to talk about these things.
Abdul, Michigan's not going for that. That is sick stuff.
That clip is just incredible. But I mean, I would think Republicans would use this. Like, or is this too like, I don't know, not related to affordability that they're just going to put this aside? Or do they seize on something like this, Sean?
I'm sorry.
I think it depends on what the polling suggests, meaning there are issues, we've talked about this before, that everybody that probably agrees that doing this to kids is already voting for Mike Rogers. I mean, and so the question is, who are you moving on an issue? They'll probably bring it up maybe to motivate people, but this is one of those issues like abortion that you're probably already on one team or another. And I think you're not moving a lot of folks. The idea, though, that he is saying castration and a permanent change of your gender to a minor is the same as a circumcision is nuts. And that guy's a medical doctor.
Totally nuts.
But that's where, again, I think the follow-up was just not, I was like, come on, you've got to be kidding. Like, I don't need to be a doctor to say you're literally telling me you're comparing one alteration, whatever you want to call circumcision, to a life-altering permanent change for a minor is actually, like, I would be concerned about a doctor that thought that was equivalent.
Well, I thought Jesse was like, Michigan's never going to go. Like, I think he did in his own style, but I think this is, I forget what the interview was, Sean, where you made this point a few weeks ago. Both sides got what they wanted out of almost every answer. So I think you'll see clips of almost every single topic where the Abdul al-Said campaign will motivate its base with, him pushing back and standing up and pivoting. He's obsessed with they're obsessed with the culture, and I'm obsessed with your affordability. And the right is going to use this stuff to say, to Sean's point, he's slimy and he's evading, and he's basically a Marxist, not a Marxist, but like super progressive. So to me, it was an unbelievable interview. I could have watched it all night.
There was a third piece to this interview that I want to make sure we highlight. Towards the end of the interview, I can't even say it correctly, but
Abdul al-Said. Say his name, Sean.
I'll say his full name, Abdul Mafa, whatever. But Mike Rogers cannot be happy with this interview.
Yeah.
Because they injected him into this debate, and Abdul kept saying, "You agree that he can't? He's too weak to come on the show." And he's
a beta. He kept calling him a beta.
And he got Jesse to laugh about it. And he said, "See, you agree with me. Mike Rogers is a beta." And over again, he kept going back to that. If you're the Rogers campaign, you're trying to book yourself on Jesse Waters tonight or tomorrow night, because this made him look. It was not. El-Said did, if there's anything that he actually accomplished in this thing, it was making people question Mike Rogers.
But I also think, because this goes to what we talk about with part of Trump's strength, Trump's willingness to go on Meet the Press and brawl earns him the perception of strength. He's unafraid. He'll come into your house and he's going to throw a punch. Abdul al-Said looked like he could sit at Fox News all night long, whether it was Hannity or Waters or Ingram or anybody at that channel, and he would be super happy and comfortable to brawl with you all night. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't look like that. Kamala Harris doesn't look like that. Josh Shapiro maybe in the future is going to look like that. But the only Democrat that I see right now who looks like he could, or she could, sit there all night and do it is Abdul al-Said. I will also say, because I was on here, don't lose track of the fact that Hassan Piker is haunting that guy. He's going to have to say something at some point, because Piker and Piker's friends and others are, at some point, you're going to have to, state the obvious and cut that guy loose.
Look, I got to say that's one other thing. Go ahead. I was going to say the whole Piker thing is a whole can of worms that.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, so for those who are not familiar with what happened, there was another Piker comment suggesting American Jews invite violence by supporting Israel. El-Said had to put out a statement. We can put that statement up here, distancing himself from it.
Well, and he had Piker had a Michigan congressional candidate's image in the back on his screen while he was doing this in a live stream.
Yeah,
which is just bonkers.
And there's some Dems, Hillary Schulten, who has been critical of him. She says she will not support him, even though he's the Democratic nominee here. Says that he's missing not Hassan Piker. El-Said is missing an opportunity to distance himself from Piker and basically disavow him. I mean, Dan, any day that you have to put a statement out like this, saying anti-Semitism is bad, is not a good day for your campaign.
Yeah, it reminds me, I'm totally blanking, and I had it. Who was Barack Obama, the pastor he had to finally come forward and address? Sean, in 2008? Oh, God.
Jeremiah Wright.
At some point, look, if you're a prominent national figure, you tend to have some friends that cause you headaches. And at some point, you need to come out and nip this in the bud. And I think for Abdul al-Said, on some level, Hassan Piker is making this easy. The more he speaks, the more he's saying just outrageous, stupid stuff. And I think al-Said is going to have to lean in. This is a leadership moment. If he wants to run for president, and I'm being serious, if he wants to win this Senate race first, you have got to take what is right now a liability and turn it into an asset. You're seen as strong. you got to be like the strong big boy here and deal with Hassan Piker. If you do, you're going to earn a lot of respect. If you don't, it's a little bit of an albatross around him.
Yeah.
I will say this is, it's not just, I had the two Dems on yesterday. We talked about this race on my show. Julian Epstein is raising money for Mike Rogers, raising money for him. And I mean, it was a very spirited debate between, I sort of stepped back and said, why doesn't
him and Mike Nellis.
Mike Nellis went at it. But the idea that like, that you have not just Hillary Scholten, but this other nominee, I think it's in the 7th district. Like there, and then the black vote. There's enough. Like this is where you're watching. Like you do not want to be answering questions. Like El Sayed, the Jesse Waters interview was perfectly timed because it kind of overshadowed some of this other crap that was happening. But the Hassan Piker thing, that guy, by the way, if he was smart. Piker, which he's clearly not, he would just shut up because right now, every day that Abdul is having to talk to him about him, he's losing the day. So just shut up. If you actually want this guy elected, if you actually care about this, then stop making it about you. And that's the problem is that Piker he is one of these guys that clearly can't help it being about him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move to the Supreme Court. Sean, you can, so if you're not going to call them restrictions, what are you going to call it? What do you call it?
What are you talking about? It's voter integrity.
I mean, mail-in voting restrictions. You take issue.
It's not when you're basically saying you have to ensure that only people that are citizens and eligible to vote can be mailed a ballot. That's not restricting voting. Who are you restricting vote? I'll flip the question. Who are you restricting from voting?
If all mail-in voting, you could say they're restricting what you believe are to be illegal mail-in voting.
No, then you're not. That's not a restriction.
Okay,
a restriction is preventing somebody from doing something. You're stopping illegal people from voting. You're ensuring voter integrity. But when you're just ensuring that you actually have to prove that the person is a citizen and eligible to vote, that's not a restriction.
Dan, do you call this a restriction?
Sure. I mean, every state determines.
I was going to say I don't even know what
every state makes those determinations.
Yeah. Okay, so can I just play this up for 1 second?
So, system of government. All
right, hold on. Time. If right now they say 16-year-olds cannot go vote, is that restricting people from voting? Right now the White House said
it's setting the parameters to vote, right? But Sean, every state determines what are their criteria to vote.
No, that's not true. The Constitution lays out with the age to vote. That is it. So you have to be 18.
And you have to be legal, or like you have to be a
correct. And that's the thing, Sean. So then how I as a state set the parameters to have my election is up again. Okay, Dan, hold on. Time out. No one's telling the state how to hold their election. They can hold it. If they want to use a tool of the federal government, i.e. the U.S. Postal Service, now you've invoked the federal government's assets to do something. I get what you're trying to do.
You want to go vote in Alexandria? The state can't say anything about how to vote in Alexandria or where to vote. 100% agree with you. But when you want to use the U.S. Postal Service, then there is a federal interest.
Okay, let's pull this back a little bit first. Let's pull this back a little bit first, just so if they didn't see the ruling last night. So Supreme Court last night in a 6-3 ruling, they did not say whether this Trump executive order was legal. They didn't say whether it could be used in the midterms. They just said that the challenge to this executive order, which was brought by 20 blue states to block this order, they said it was premature, right? And just to sort of remind people, let me pull this up.
Because it's not in effect. They're not actually moving forward with it yet. So there's nothing to challenge for the states. That's the catch.
And then let's just remind people on the executive order. So basically it charges Homeland Security, Social Security Administration. They create a list of citizens in each state. And then they would have the Postal Service basically cross-check mail-in ballots with the names that are allowed on this master list, right? And so the question is whether that can move forward. The court says it's too early in these states. They don't have a case yet. So I guess the question, Dan, I was looking at X last night and I saw a bunch of Democrats saying, okay, people don't freak out yet. This is just the beginning. Now that there's actually an official ruling, I guess the ruling officially came out on Friday. Now they will challenge that ruling, or do they have to wait until
Once they go to implement it, that's when, right.
When can they actually have standing here?
Once the federal government begins to execute, then you can say people have been harmed and you have to stop it, and that is likely what will happen, and then this will get kicked into.
Well, I'll be interested to on the question of standing. I think that's because you have to have an aggrieved party to get standing. So you have to say Dan Turrentine couldn't vote.
Yeah, right. the state is going to say it is our right to make that determination about what are the criteria that we use. You, the federal government, don't have the right to do this. Look, it will get litigated. Maybe Trump will win. There's a political show. If this is what Republicans are going to November on, they will get annihilated. Nobody who watched that interview last night with Jesse Waters that Rogers or Abdul El-Sayed is trying to move is sitting there at night thinking to themselves, you know what, hon? What is keeping me up all night is is who is voting in Georgia. Nobody. It's insane that you guys are obsessed with this. This is like Democrats, if we were like to turn around and say, let's talk about Bush versus Gore in Florida. 25 years ago. What are you doing?
Okay, so I guess the point is you're acting like this is going to be an issue. I don't think it is. I mean, like in the sense that
that's why no one cares. It's not an issue.
Okay, great. Then if no one cares, then it'll implement and no one will vote on it, and that'll be great.
You guys haven't proved fraud in his entire tenure.
First of all, here's the point. Even if there's, let's just for hypothetical purposes,
fraud, it could happen.
Time, right. I'll just for the sake of this argument, there's never been any fraud in the world ever about anything. Don't you think if you value something that you should have, if a bank hasn't been robbed, do you think that they shouldn't have security? Don't you protect what you value?
We have security and it works. You just proved my point. I mean, look, Donald Trump, I always go back to this when the right loses itself on this. When Donald Trump lost Iowa to Ted Cruz, do people remember in 2016, he said it was stolen? Just start there. Since he was a national figure, every time he has lost, he would cry it was stolen. 16 was stolen until he won, and then it was beautiful. The same election that he said was going to be stolen, he won.
Can I just bring this back to logistically how this is going to work? I mean, put the merit argument aside. You guys can keep going back all day on this disagreement, but logistically, so people start to send in the mail-in ballots. Maybe some people get caught up in this and they're not able to vote. It gets stopped even though they are eligible to vote. They challenge it in court. They do have standing, and then all of a sudden, a court places an injunction on this whole executive order, and the U.S. Postal Service has to allow certain things to go through and stop the program and retrain people. I just feel like this is going to be logistically a nightmare.
Well, to your point, I think if you're the Trump team, and I don't know this, but basically the way this works is there's going to be a list that gets bumped up against, and there's supposed to be a barcode that it would get scanned and go forward. And if that barcode doesn't exist, I assume. But I will give you this, Rachel. If you're going to do this and go to the mat for it, you better ensure that USPS has a plan to execute what you're saying, because this is like when Mondami rolled out the peer-to-tear tax and he was putting houses on this list and people were saying, I live here, or that's not the value of it, or whatever. And he looks like, so if you're going to go down this rabbit hole, and I fully support voter integrity efforts, so we all know that, but do not do this where you aren't ready to execute it. If you do it and it gets bungled and Dan Turrentine says, hey, I live in New York, I cast my ballot, and it got rejected because you falsely claimed I didn't live here, then you're going to have a big problem. And so I hope that the USPS, to your point, has the logistics figured out.
Yeah, I don't know. USPS.
I also think that the challenge is going to be, and I suspect this is part of it, is you're going to have this idea of if you have certain, let's say, Senate or House races that are, 1,100 votes, you're going to have allegations that it was stolen. And that is just going to create a headache. All
right. Let's go to Bessent Bluster. But before we do, a quick word about Omaha Steaks.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically the Omaha burgers. You guys might appreciate this. A few days ago, I woke up and what did I want for breakfast? I wanted an Omaha burger. And I did.
Really? For breakfast?
For breakfast. 8 in the morning.
What's for breakfast?
I like
8
it.
in the morning, got out fired up the grill, made myself a burger. But again, how could you do that if it was a whole package of burgers and it's, you're just cooking for yourself at 8 in the morning because nobody else wants a burger that early? Look, the meat is fantastic, restaurant grade proteins, whether it's hamburgers. What do I like? The pork chop. You got the steaks, other things, chicken, the seafood. I haven't tried the seafood yet, so that is something to order on my list. But it's great stuff. Everyone should check out Omaha Steaks. Let me make sure.
Just put 2 of the hot dogs in the fridge to defrost them for.
Oh yes, Omaha Steaks.
I also think the one cool thing about Omaha is it comes individually. A lot of the stuff individually. So if you only want one burger,
yes,
I like
exactly.
that.
Because who else wants a burger for breakfast but me?
But then you don't have to defrost 8 of them. You just do
exactly. OmahaSteaks.com, promo code HUDDLE. You'll get $35 off. That's really good, man. Right now, prices on meat, as I told you when I was just in the northern Outer Banks, a pound of hamburger, $10. Crazy. OmahaSteaks.com. You will not be paying that, but you'll be getting even better proteins at a better price. OmahaSteaks.com. Cuddle. Why can't I speak? Code HUDDLE for $35 off.
If you want to cuddle on the huddle while you're eating Omaha steak, that's at your call.
Go get the Cozy Earth bubble blanket and then wrap yourself as you're eating a steak.
Why not?
Don't use your bubble blanket when you're eating a steak. You don't want to mess that thing up.
No.
That thing, Okay, let's talk about Bessent.
You're picking a scab in our house. People who have the blanket on and eat. It's my pet peeve. Like crumbs get in it, but other people are comfy.
No way. No way.
I'm with you.
I'm with you, Dan. No way.
Yeah.
And in fact, like,
I love you too,
my daughter
sweetheart.
has tried to eat popcorn in the bubble cuddle blanket, and I'm like, girl, nope. Eat your popcorn somewhere else. Okay, let's talk about Bessent's Bluster. The reviews are in. I'm curious if Sean agrees with them or thinks the media is being over harsh on Bessent. But folks are saying, the reports are that the Bluster didn't exactly live up to the hype of economic D-Day. This is from Treasury Secretary Bessent and his threats against Iran. Here's Axios. Trump's economic D-Day for Iran came and went yesterday with little of the shock or awe that was promised. This will unfold not like the Allied invasion of Normandy, but as a sweeping, slow burn sanctions campaign that could eventually lock Iran's foreign enablers out of the U.S. financial system. Bessent basically blacklisted 6 Iran-linked targets and said he was going to widen these sanctions. But there was no timeline specifically given, right, from my understanding, and there were no countries specifically named. Sean, do you think that the media is being overtly sort of critical, or do you think that this doesn't have the teeth that people were expecting?
It's probably somewhere in between. I think, to your point, when you sell it as, like, first of all, I think the economics piece of this has been referred to as Operation, Epic or Economic Fury. Yep. Has some real teeth, like really getting the Iranian government to feel this on an economic front is apparently been working very well. From the folks that I talk to, like this actually has been probably more effective to some degree than the military strikes.
Yep.
But what happens is, we talk about bombing them all the time and then it doesn't happen and people say, oh, well, that's not. I felt like this was the economic equivalent. It was like, we're going to come in and make them feel the pain. And then like, it didn't have the teeth. Now, maybe they're doing some of it behind the scenes, but if you're the Iranians and you were just like, holy smokes, what are they going to do? And you heard that, unless there's some back channeling going on, I don't know that they quivered in their boots yesterday. And there was a lot of pre-hype going into it of people saying this is the right thing to do. And then once Bessent had all the details out there, I think there was a lot of like, oh, that's it?
Yeah. Why not do this stuff first before going to war?
Because... Great question. Because when you do this, you're really hurting the people more than the government, right? That's where this hurts the most. And so when you fire missiles and stuff, you can be very strategic. We're going to hit this government thing. We're going to hit this military base or installation or asset. When you're doing the economic stuff, you're actually probably impacting the people of Iran more than you are the government. And so you're hoping that you squeeze them in the government and then maybe cause an uprising. So it actually hurts. The economic stuff probably hurts the people of Iran more than the bombs because of their more strategic. So that's generally why you will hear the argument that see if that part works first.
Dan, what did you make of this?
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, the history of the world, you tend to go to sanctions, and military is the last resort. Look, to me, it's scary in that the administration has lost credibility on this issue. Like, they're not losing it; they've lost it. Nobody believes Trump anymore when he makes his ridiculous statements. When we were gone last week, he was like, "We control the strait; it's ours," and you're just like, "What? Okay, then why is oil not back at $60 a barrel? Because we don't control the strait." And so for them to come out and do this, and then the first thing the press, and I said this was going to be the first question, or didn't say it was going to be the first, but the big question, China. Bessent was asked about it. He wouldn't talk about it. Of course we're not going to go hit China. First off, they're invested in most of their sovereign funds are invested in most of our banks. If they dumped our debt, we'd be in huge trouble. So this is the just fraud of all of this. And to me, it says to the rest of the world, the U.S. has no leverage and no plan and no clue what to do. So they're grasping at straws, trying to get headlines. So, I mean, Bessent's I don't know if he's going to be my loser of the week, but between the bond market and this, his former boss, Stanley Druckenmiller, all but said he's an idiot in the Wall Street Journal today, which and on Wall Street parlance was like a pretty big put down. Not a good week.
Sean, I mean, Dan brings up a great point with China. Like, what are we going to do? They take 90% of Iran's oil, 90%. She's coming to the White House in September, late September.
Getting the helipad ready for him.
Like, we actually, as Dan was saying, we actually cannot punish them if they don't.
They'll stop buying soybeans,
this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's like there's a reality of where we are in the world and how linked we are to China. And I mean, we've seen this. This is, you guys have no surprise. This is one of the things that I can't believe is not bipartisan. Like, we as a country should be united against what China's trying to do, whether it's AI, economic, or military. They are seeking world domination. They don't hide it. And we sit around and have these, patty cake conversations as if like they're going to care what we think on stuff. And this is another example of why, because they can do a lot of things that we can't. We know that we can't actually do certain things to them as we should with Iran and Venezuela and oil because, well, we can't because they own a lot of our debt. We're tied to them economically. We really don't want to take them on militarily. I mean, there's a reality here that we don't want to talk about as a country. We just hit, by the way, $40 trillion in debt. Like, yeah. It's starting to get to a point where all of these issues, the big issues, we don't want to have real conversations about where we are as a country. And I think if you look historically and go back over time, this is where great empires start to fail. And I am worried that we are in a position now where we're not willing to take on big issues anymore because they're too challenging.
Wow, that's depressing, Sean. Very
sorry.
Very dark, depressing. Very quickly, because I want to get to Jeffries. Good segment there.
Me too.
But we got to mention Canada here because they're announcing retaliatory tariffs after this weekend. The president's now also threatening 50% tariffs on Canadian vehicles, auto parts, and steel. This morning, it was like I don't know, 7:30 or 8. The president put out a truth. The United States is giving serious consideration to changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America, and that we don't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer. Sean, you were the one who actually flagged the Canadian thing in the back and forth here. I mean, is this, we always ask, like, is this just, part of the negotiating tactic, or are we going to be in this trade war come election day with Canada?
So first, there's a story that hasn't been told yet. This deal, as far as I know, was ready to go. The whole USMCA. At midnight, they were preparing for everyone to sign it the next day. Something happened between midnight and 10 a.m. I'm not ready to go there yet, but there are certain people that are speculating.
Sorry, I just tripped on something. Yeah.
Sorry, Dan. I hope you're better. There is, this went from a signing deal to blowing the whole thing up. Look, the problem I have right now on a political scale is we are 71 days out. We talked about this yesterday. I'm not going to rehash the conversation, but there are real implications. Now, we can weather the storm more than Canada can, to be honest with you. Those Ontario things are aimed at Ontario's premier, Doug Ford. The auto thing the president announced yesterday, that's really aimed at Doug Ford. There are two fronts going out here. One is getting the deal and making sure that Doug Ford, the premier of Ontario, pays a price. He's the guy that shut out all of our alcohol and a lot of the. So there's a bunch of fronts happening here. If I had to put a crystal ball in front of me, we get this thing back on track. I don't know if it's 4 days or 4 months, but we'll get there. Now, remember, we've already been pre-negotiating a lot with Mexico, and this is starting to put Canada over the barrel to say, you guys want to be part of this or you want to get excluded? We did this last time as well. But you need to get a deal with Canada also as a cudgel against China. There is so much to unpack in this deal. And what's going on. But I would keep an eye on this issue because I don't think it's going anywhere. And the one thing that I don't like about some of these truths is that we've got to be careful we don't get to a point we can't bring it back. The trading partners, the flow of trade between our two countries is so critical to our economy, and yes, theirs, but we cannot get to a point of where we walk away.
Dan? So I'll say this. I would imagine that this is over by the middle of next week for one simple reason. J.D. Vance was in Maine yesterday. All he got hit on by the Maine Chamber of Commerce, who is no fan of Troy Jackson and others, was WTF with Canada. It was in all the headlines, everything he said. You are writing off the Maine Senate seat. If you're not out of this within the next 2 weeks, I mean, Susan Collins, Sean, I don't care.
Well, that's why, but Dan, I mean, that's my point on the rhetoric. Like, you cannot get too far out on this.
Susie Wiles is sitting down with him. They're both political animals saying, we will lose Maine. This may be the nail in the coffin in Iowa. We have got to get out of this. Go fight it the day after the election.
But that's the problem is that we've got to be careful that we don't escalate the rhetoric to a point where Mark Carney says, like Doug Ford was asked yesterday, are you saying some of the things, did the prime minister call you and tell you to dial some of this back? And he's like, nope. He started making comments about how big his butt was because he thought, I mean, it was, they've got to be careful because it is that important.
Size of butts. What a day on TV yesterday.
What a day. No kidding.
Right, we only have, we need enough time.
Yeah, let's keep going.
All right. Yep.
We got to get to Hakeem Jeffries.
The hostage video.
So Jeffries was forced to defend himself yesterday following these reports that he met with Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law, about whether they can work together should Democrats hold the House. Dan, I know you had thought maybe he leaked this, but this reaction is exactly why I thought this wasn't going to come from his camp, because they had to have known the reaction they were going to get here. Maybe this is worse than they predicted, but James Carville, you do not meet with them, don't have anything to do with them. Any business we have is going to be conducted with you under oath. So he was critical. And then people like Mehdi Hassan, progressive, independent media person, called this meeting pathetic stuff from the House Democratic leader, Adam Kinzinger, said that basically someone needs to help him make sense of this. I mean, we'll get to this video where Jeffries defended himself, which I think has like 1.5 million views at this point. But first, just the outrage from like all sides of the Democratic caucus here. I mean, Carville's not exactly a progressive.
Yeah, I don't know if it was all. Look,
well, Carville is not a progressive. No, he's like a more traditional.
Yeah, I get it.
He was like, "Why are you doing this?"
Look, I'll say this. I'm very willing to say where I am wrong. You said it both on air, but we had a longer conversation, the three of us off air after the show, that you thought he may be in trouble for going and doing that meeting, and I did not. My first thought when I saw the video was, why would you do this? Well, the obvious answer is because you are scared and you are worried about your left flank, right? Yep. You felt like, I got to rush this out there. We'll get to just how terrible the actual like optics and the way he spoke and everything. But you do that because you're worried.
Yeah.
Like Nancy Pelosi.
Can we just
wait? Hold on.
Let's play it. I didn't know you wanted to go right. I was asking more about the criticism of the meeting first, but let's just play the video.
Well, yeah, no, but I mean, that's it, which is Nancy Pelosi would never
do this.
Ever have had this like hostage video where she's like pleading with the base of like, no, I'm really basically with you. I think it is not reported enough about like all the reporting in politics right now is about Hakeem is likely going to be the next speaker. The real story is, I don't know, Sean. I mean, maybe Mike Johnson at first, but he had Trump over his shoulder. Has there ever been a weaker person about to assume a speakership. I mean, Kevin McCarthy, maybe, but like that didn't last very long. It is unbelievable how weak Hakeem Jeffries is. And this video proves it.
Let's play the video. Let's play it, yeah.
Oh, my God.
What's up, y'all? Just finished up an event here in the community in Brooklyn. I want to give you a little real talk on this Jared Kushner situation. He asked for a meeting, and I took it to discuss the affordability crisis that exists that is not a hoax. At the same period of time, I shouldn't have to say it, but I am. No one is going to get a pass. We're going to hold every single member of the Trump cartel accountable, beginning on day one.
Yeah, I don't, the optics of this video, I just don't understand why he does this thing where he puts on a baseball cap and like a shirt. Like, it's just not him.
So I got to say, I was very proud of my tweet yesterday, which was, hey, Siri, make a political hostage video using a script written by AOC of Hakeem Jeffries explaining his meeting with Jared Kushner, and also pretend it's St. Patrick's Day. I mean, he looked like a clown. And I was like, who, first of all.
It was unserious. He doesn't look like a leader in that video.
But it also, Dan, it's like, I want to look like it's completely unscripted, but you can tell there's like a teleprompter running in the thing.
Yeah,
it's
because
like,
he kept pausing.
I want to be real with all of you right now and tell you the honest truth about why I took this meeting.
And then he pauses.
Paused.
Yeah, and you could see
It was, look, also, like I said this yesterday, if you just said, guys, I'll take meetings anytime. You want to fight for our agenda? You want to meet with me?
Yeah, I'll meet with
Great.
anyone.
You know what? I'll meet with anyone anytime to
totally.
advance the agenda. I could have written this for. I was like, what?
I mean, I also would have been like, they think we're going to win. So they want to start having conversations. Come to daddy. Come to us.
This was, oh my God.
Trump is the beggar in this situation. It was so weak.
I do feel like this shows like it just how much of a headache he is going to have next year. I mean, like the Democratic base, you can't meet with you cannot meet with a Republican without people freaking out at you.
No. But here's the difference. But hold on. I'm sorry. Dan brought this up, so credit to Dan. But like the contrast, Abdul El-Sayed went on Jesse Waters. Donald Trump goes on Donald Trump goes on anything. He can take on anybody. And that's what people kind of go, look, this guy will fight anybody. I hate the fact that he goes on liberal media, but I get why he does it. He shows that I can go anywhere, anytime to do anything. I don't like him given the credibility of going there, though. But El-Sayed, again, I'll give him credit for going on Jesse Waters. I didn't think it shows that he'll take on people, and it's a nice narrative. But this thing, dude, you didn't even go anywhere. You were doing a video. Your staff looked at that and said, good job, boss. Let's put it out. Yeah. Like, how tone deaf.
I agree.
I literally thought to myself, you look like someone should have said, can we switch the shirt? Can we at least get a blue Yankees hat on? Like, I don't get what.
Well, and to your
anybody
point,
looked
Sean,
at that and said, this is a good idea.
And I can't believe I'm making Abdul El-Sayed like the leader here a little bit, but you could see him being like, Jesse, that's because we're going to win. Jesse, that's because Donald Trump knows who he needs to come talk to negotiate, because we're going to do A, B, C, and D. And if he doesn't do it, like the American people are going to speak. It really did. He's so weak, Hakeem Jeffries. And that is the problem, which is he is going to have 800 people at the kitchen table telling him what to do, and he's paralyzed. If I'm a 28er, you're going to have to think through, how do I deal with Hakeem Jeffries?
The one last thing I'll say on this, by the way, is
let's move on.
I mentioned it yesterday, but if that video proved to me that if Democrats were to retake the House, that there is literally nothing that will get done. Nada. Because you can't, he literally had a meeting with a guy that he worked with before. He can't answer that. You think that there's ever going to be a serious meeting? If it's done.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Consider the government shut down if that happens.
Yep, I agree. Totally agree. Okay, let's go to Shapiro here for our last segment. New positive headlines for him. This poll showing that I'm going to put up the headline.
He's doing well.
A wide lead over Stacey Garrity in Pennsylvania, and has the support from in the state for a possible presidential bid. Okay, these are some interesting numbers. Leads his opponent 16 points among likely voters, leads in nearly every demographic group, is winning 11% of Trump's 2024 supporters, and runs ahead of his own party. Here's a line from the story. Notably, while half of Pennsylvania voters said that the Democratic Party was too far left, only 29% said the same of Shapiro. Dan, like these are impressive numbers, like point blank, they certainly are. My question though is this like the secret Shapiro sauce about winning over Trump's 2024 voters, or is this just like a product of the environment and like less about him? I guess
both. It's like it is. Everyone, we talk about Abdul El-Sayed. We've talked about Gavin Newsom. We're talking about kind of AOC's kind of moment this summer. Josh Shapiro has clearly made a decision, go back to the last year, to be head down in Pennsylvania and to run the score up the way George W. Bush did in Texas in 1998, which is to say he is going to try to win by a big margin. He's going to try to pull a House seat or two or maybe even three from the R column to the D column. He's going to try to win local state House and state Senate races. And he is going to turn around then when the party is like, looking at 28 and say, we are the ultimate swing state. I've got the full backing of, my people, so to speak. Look at what I can do. It's a story. Like, it's real. You're going to sit up in your chair if you're a Democrat in South Carolina or Nevada and be like, who is this guy who's so popular in the biggest swing state in the country? And so for Josh Shapiro, putting your head down and being the workhorse, just keep an eye on it. He's positioning himself to
the poll showed that he still has that real problem area, though, with young voters when it comes to Israel, right? He's Jewish.
It's going to be an issue.
Overcome that, right? I mean,
it's going to look. Every candidate out there on both sides of the aisle has a huge set of liabilities, and that is his. Just is. Full stop.
I will say, what we talked about this before with like Ossoff, right? He's not going to have a tough race now. We know that he's getting a pass, and so if he runs for president, no one laid a glove on him. It's like when Obama ran, right? He didn't have a tough race for the Senate. No one laid a glove on him, and that's ascent occurred. I think the thing that's happened with Shapiro, that people get this sense that like, oh, they're battle tested. Shapiro ran against Mastriano last time, and it's not. The candidate now, the state treasurer, doesn't have the baggage that Mastriano did, but it's going to be the same thing. And this is where our party needs to realize we're giving these folks a pass to the next level. And when they rise on the national stage, they have this perception of, wow, they can attract votes and they outperform. Let's just face it, they both didn't have strong campaigns against them and got a pass. None of these guys are getting battle tested for what it's worth.
Well, but it's like Bush with my friend Gary Morrow in 98, which is Bush, his strength scared away people from running in 98. Sure. And so that is Shapiro's flex. And his, to your point, Rachel, you talk to the Shapiro people, what they will tell you is, how come no one primaried him when everyone was being primaried all over the country? Because they navigated their politics. Philadelphia's got a lot of young, very progressive people. So does Pittsburgh.
Well, that's again, but this gets back to the
they did not get primaried.
That's interesting. Hadn't thought of that, actually.
And they're at 94% with Democrats. Mm-hmm. And I have talked to some very senior Shapiro people, and that is their calm response when I ask them about that very topic.
Interesting. All right, guys, we only have one more minute. Let's take a question or two.
Oh, we'll go over.
Yes. Super chat here. As a 10-plus year Twitch watcher, Hassan has always been this way and is cracking me up. It's finally coming to the mainstream. Wait till the clip of him comparing the Houthis to Anne Frank gets out. Can El-Sayed distance himself?
Look, Hassan Piker has made millions of dollars because he says very controversial stuff. And he's not going to stop saying very controversial stuff. And I think if you're El-Sayed and you are ambitious, you can't just keep ignoring the elephant in the room. You're going to have to address this in a holistic and thorough, direct way, I think.
The problem is that he associated himself during the primary. He was happy to campaign with him. He got cocky about it. And now he's like saying, like, I can't believe he's the focus of it. Dude, you hugged him.
I agree.
You hugged him, and now you are like, I don't even know who he is. El Sayed created this problem by association and thought that it was no big deal, and now he's paying the price. I think this is the, Republicans have been tainted by this kind of stuff for decades. It's nice to see a Democrat finally actually getting the attention that we get from like finding out that little Timmy tweeted out something and we happen to know him sitting near him at the lunch table and we get associated with all that. So I'm actually happy to see this. But I think the bigger point that Bob's making here is that it's interesting to see how much more is going to come out, because people are now digging and finding these videos. But you're right. When you're off in the ether making these comments to yourself and your own little ecosystem, no one cares. They've got now professional oppo looking through everything that Hassan Piker said and saying, this is the guy that you campaigned with. So
yeah,
I also question, by the way, the bigger, broader question is, I've said this, I'll keep saying it. I think this could be the Jay Jones race of this year, where people are like, yep, he sucks. He hangs out with this guy, but I don't care.
Let's very quickly take one or two more. Ooh. Go a little over.
We fooled the production folks.
Okay. Sue, unaffiliated voter in Colorado. Reports are that Trump wants to rename, Lake Ontario. Is he really that childish / petty? Doesn't Canada have a right not to submit to U.S. demands?
Sure, of course they do. I mean,
we did it with the Gulf of America.
Gulf of America.
I will say that when he did this, I just thought it doesn't hit the same as it did when he did the Gulf of America. He just looks weak now.
I also like I said, the whole goal here is to really piss off Doug Ford. And I just don't know that, to your point, I mean, to Dan's kind of narrative on this, I don't know that anybody goes, yeah, we get it. Like at the beginning, people were like, yes, America, when he was renaming the Gulf of America. I don't know that anybody's like pissed off at Canada right now. It's like being pissed off at vanilla ice cream. It's just...
All right. Let's leave it there, guys. Sean, what do you have coming off tonight?
That's a great one-liner.
Thank you. I just thought of that.
I like it.
So I'm actually, Dr. Oz is on the show tonight. I'm going to talk to him a lot about fraud. I got to tell you, it was interesting. You might not have seen this. I had to go to the dentist yesterday to have a tooth fix, and we're talking about fraud, like how much it exists throughout the medical industry.
Yeah.
I know Dr. Oz, and so I have some fresh stuff to bring up to him. And then Avita Duffy, who is Sean Duffy's, I think, oldest child. Her husband's actually running for Wisconsin's 7th district, which is the old Duffy seat in Congress. And she was part of the Great American Roadshow, so she's going to come on as well. So we've got it's going to be great. I'm excited.
Sean, you should ask Dr. Oz about the power of AI to root out fraud. It's real, I can tell you.
Okay.
In healthcare.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But it was just fascinating to hear how the dentist was telling me they get pitched. I'm like, come to this conference. We'll teach you how to bill Medicare for these things.
Oh,
and it was just
so ripe with fraud.
Oh my God. It was just listening to it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
All right, everybody tune in. We will be back tomorrow to digest what happened in South Carolina. Drum roll.
Okay.
We'll see you then.